The first time Luca Conti really saw the maid, she was smiling at another man. He had just pushed open the door to his office, the familiar click of the handle echoing in the hallway. When the scene in front of him froze him for a second he would never admit out loud. Ryan Blake, his capo, was standing just inside the room, relaxed, hands in his pockets, that easy grin on his face. In front of him stood the new maid, holding a silver tray with a coffee set. Her cheeks were pink, her eyes soft, a small, shy smile curving her lips as she looked up at Ryan like he had just said something funny. They were close. Not too close. Just close enough for Luca's jaw to tighten. He had walked by that girl a dozen times since she started working in the mansion. She was another uniform in the hallways, another quiet voice saying, "Good morning, sir." Another person who knew how to stay out of his way. At least, that was what he thought. Now, from the doorway, Luca saw something else. He saw Ryan leaning a little closer. He saw the way the maid's shoulders relaxed around him. He saw the warmth in her eyes when she smiled, and something sharp moved under his ribs. Luca didn't clear his throat. He didn't call their names. He just stepped inside, the air in the room changing the second his presence filled it. Ryan saw him first. "Boss," Ryan said immediately, straightening his posture. The maid's smile vanished. She straightened so fast the tray trembled in her hands. For a second, their eyes met, and Luca noticed details he had never registered before. Her hair was pulled back in a neat low ponytail, a few strands loose near her face. Her eyes were a warm hazel, big and expressive. Her lips were full, still curved from the smile she had given Ryan. She wore the Conti household maid uniform, black dress, white apron, simple black shoes, but there was something delicate and firm at the same time in the way she stood. "Mr. Conti, I'm sorry, I was just—" she began, her voice sweet and a little nervous. "You're blocking the desk," Luca cut in, not raising his voice. Her fingers tightened around the tray. "Yes, sir. I apologize." She moved a step to the side, enough to clear the way, but not fast enough to look like she was running. Ryan shot a quick look at Luca. "I asked her to bring your coffee in here," he explained. "You skipped breakfast." "I didn't ask for it," Luca replied, walking to the chair behind the desk. "That's kind of the point, boss. If we waited for you to ask, you'd forget to eat for 3 days straight." There it was, a half joke, half truth. Ryan never hesitated to tease him a bit, as long as he knew his limits. Luca sat down, the chair turning slightly as he settled into it. The dark wooden desk between him and the two of them suddenly felt smaller. He rested his forearms on the smooth surface, his black shirt stretching across his broad shoulders. "Put it down," he said to the maid, pointing with his chin toward a clear space beside some files. She stepped closer, placing the tray carefully. The sound of porcelain touching metal echoed softly through the room. Up close, her scent reached him. Something light. Soap and freshly brewed coffee. "What's your name?" Luca asked without looking away from the papers, as if it were just a routine question. "Emily, sir. Emily Carter." Emily. The name slipped into some unused corner of his mind. "Emily," he repeated, testing the sound. "Next time, knock before entering my office." Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sorry." "She did knock," Ryan commented, a short smile on his lips. "I opened the door." Luca lifted his gaze slowly. "Then next time, don't turn my office into your social hour, Ryan." Ryan's smile faded slightly, but not completely. "Got it." Emily took a step back, her chest rising and falling in a rhythm that revealed her nerves. "Would you like anything else, sir?" "No." "Okay." She lowered her head slightly. "Excuse me." She turned to leave, and in that movement, that simple step away, Luca noticed something that irritated him even more. Ryan watched her all the way to the door, and she looked back and smiled, small, almost automatic, but real. The door closed. Silence settled over the office. Luca picked up the cup of coffee, took a sip, and tasted the strong, well-prepared flavor. Of course it was perfect. Nothing mediocre entered the Conti house. "Good coffee," Ryan said, almost absent-mindedly. "She's quick, and she listens. The staff likes her." You doing performance reviews now? Luca replied calmly, setting the cup down. Ryan shrugged. Just saying. She's different from the others, less afraid, more, I don't know, alive. Luca didn't answer, but inside, something about that word, alive, bothered him. Emily Carter, the maid he hadn't looked at twice until now, but the capo had, and apparently that changed everything. The Conti mansion sat on the edge of an upscale New York neighborhood, where expensive cars were common and discreet security blended into the scenery. Inside, it was a mix of classic elegance and controlled modernity. Marble in the entrance hall, dark wood in the hallways, paintings aligned as if someone measured every inch. It was also a place where no one fully relaxed. Emily was learning that quickly. As she walked down the upstairs hallway holding the now empty tray, she could still feel the weight of Luca Conti's stare lingering in her memory. It had been intense, direct, almost too sharp for someone who had only asked her name. She turned the tray in her hands, taking a breath. "Great job not dropping anything," a familiar voice said behind her. Emily turned, a little startled, and found Mia Harper, another staff member and her only friend there. Mia wore the same uniform, but balanced it with a light expression and eyes that missed nothing. "I almost dropped it," Emily admitted softly. "He looked angry." "He always looks angry," Mia replied, falling into step beside her. "If he ever smiles, we'll call an ambulance." Emily let out a nervous laugh. "I walked in and he was already in a bad mood. You walked in and he saw you standing with Ryan. That's enough to put anyone in a mood," Mia murmured, leaning closer. "You realize Ryan basically never talks to the staff, right? Except to give orders or tease people." "He wasn't doing anything wrong," Emily said defensively without meaning to. "He just asked if I was settling in." Mia raised her brows, a mischievous smile tugging at her lips. "Oh, he asked if you were settling in. That's step one." "Step one of what?" "Ryan's guide to charming every woman within 10 miles. Emily rolled her eyes. "Stop. I'm just saying," Mia continued. "If he starts remembering how you like your coffee, it's over." Emily laughed for real this time, the sound soft in the hallway. "He doesn't even know how I like my coffee." "Yet," Mia corrected, pointing with her chin. "Come on, Mrs. Hayes will kill us if she catches us gossiping." Mrs. Hayes, the housekeeper, was strict but fair. Emily had already learned that 2 rules in that house were sacred. Don't be late, and don't talk too much. "Are you okay, though?" Mia asked gently. "He can be intense." Emily didn't need to ask who she meant. The image of Luca sitting behind his desk, his black shirt open at the top buttons, that heavy stare, flashed clearly in her mind. "I'm fine," Emily said. "I just don't think he likes me very much." Mia gave a small smile. "He doesn't like anyone very much. Don't take it personally." They walked into the kitchen, where the smell of baking bread and fresh coffee filled the air. It was warmer there, more human. Staff moved in and out, some laughing, some arguing about trivial things. Emily felt that if there was a place in that mansion where she could breathe, it was that room. Placing the empty tray on the counter, she found herself thinking again about the way Luca had repeated her name. Emily. It had been quick, short, but it kept echoing in her mind. In the office, the atmosphere was far from light. Ryan leaned against the bookshelf, arms crossed, while Luca reviewed a contract on his laptop screen. The lines of text reflected in Luca's dark eyes, but his mind was clearly elsewhere. "You know this isn't a good idea," Luca said suddenly, without looking up. Ryan blinked. "Okay, I'm going to need you to be more specific because I have a lot of bad ideas." "Flirting with staff inside the house," Luca clarified, "especially new staff. It distracts. It complicates things." Ryan exhaled slowly. "We're really doing this?" "I'm serious." "So am I." Ryan pushed himself off the shelf and approached the desk. "I wasn't flirting with her, if that's what you're worried about." "You smiled like you were," Luca retorted, finally lifting his gaze. Ryan held his stare without flinching. They had known each other for years. They'd been through far worse than an office conversation over coffee. "I smile at everyone," Ryan replied. "You know, to balance your permanent scowl." Luca didn't react. She works here. She has rules. So do you. I know, and I respect that, Ryan said, more seriously now. But I also know the difference between being kind and crossing a line. I'm not stupid. Luca stayed quiet. The silence between them was thick, heavy with something Ryan couldn't quite place. You've never cared this much about who I talk to in this house, Ryan added slowly. So what is this really about? Luca turned back to the screen. We have a meeting at 3. Don't waste my time with pointless questions. Ryan watched him for a few seconds. The change was subtle, but it was there. The way Luca held his pen too tightly. The fact that he still hadn't taken another sip of his coffee, even though he always did so automatically. Sure, Ryan said, stepping back. 3 o'clock. He had almost reached the door when Luca spoke again. Ryan. Yeah? She's new here. Don't complicate things for her. It was an odd concern, considering that until a few days ago, Luca probably couldn't have said which shift the maid worked. Ryan forced a small smile. Wouldn't dream of it. But as he walked out of the office, he couldn't stop the question echoing in his mind. Complicate things for her, or for you? The rest of Emily's morning passed in a quick rhythm. Rooms to clean, hallways to tidy, small tasks that never seemed to end. It was tiring, but she liked staying busy. Whenever her mind went quiet, she remembered why she had taken the job in the first place. New city, new home, new life. No space for mistakes. She was adjusting some pillows in one of the living rooms when she heard approaching footsteps. They weren't the heavy steps of security, nor the firm, controlled walk of Mrs. Hayes. They were lighter, confident. Hey, Ryan's voice sounded a few seconds later. You survived. Emily turned, automatically placing her hands behind her back, as if preparing for an evaluation. I'm just doing my job, she said, offering a polite smile. Apparently very well, Ryan said. He finished the coffee and didn't complain. That's like a miracle by this house's standards. Maybe he was distracted, she said, trying not to think too much about it. Ryan tilted his head, studying her face. Did he say anything to you after I left? Just that I needed to knock before entering, Emily replied. And he asked my name. Ryan nodded, as if that confirmed something. That's more than most people get from him in a week. Is he always like that? Emily asked, before she could stop herself. Serious? Quiet? Obsessed with control? Ryan counted on his fingers. Yeah, that's him. He notices everything, even when you think he doesn't. Emily bit her lower lip for a moment. I thought he didn't even know I existed until today. Ryan smiled sideways. Trust me, he knows. She didn't know why, but the comment made her heart beat a little faster. Anyway, Ryan continued, changing the subject. If he ever gives you a hard time, just remember it's not personal. He's like that with everyone. I'm the fun one. He's the scary one. That's our dynamic. I don't think you're scary, Emily said, not looking directly at him. Good. Then we're off to a great start. She laughed softly, shaking her head. I should get back to work. Sure. Ryan stepped back but paused before leaving completely. Emily? Yes? If you ever need anything, I'm around. It's not easy being new here. She looked at him quickly, surprised by the genuine offer. Thank you. Anytime, he said with that same easy smile. Emily returned to work, but as she adjusted the curtains, she felt again the strange sensation of being watched. She turned, thinking for a moment it might be Ryan. It wasn't Ryan. Luca was standing in the doorway, one hand in his pocket, the other holding his phone. He didn't seem to be using it. It looked like he had been standing there long enough to witness the end of their conversation. His eyes moved briefly to Ryan in the hallway behind her, then back to Emily. There was no smile, no softness, only something intense, something she couldn't interpret yet. When you finish here, go to the kitchen. Mrs. Hayes has a new list of tasks for you, he said, his voice low and firm. Okay, sir, Emily replied, straightening. He nodded once and turned to leave, his dark suit catching the light from the windows. Emily realized for the first time that his presence seemed to change the temperature of any room he entered. Ryan reappeared, crossing paths with Luca for a split second. Nothing was said. Nothing needed to be. Not yet. In her small room at the end of the day, Emily sat on the edge of her bed, slipped off her shoes, and massaged her tired feet. Her hands trembled slightly, not from physical effort but from everything the day had brought. She thought of Luca repeating her name. She thought of Ryan offering help. She thought of the way both their eyes seemed to find her at different moments. This wasn't what she had come for when she accepted a job in the home of a man like Luca Conti. She had promised herself she would keep her head down, do the work, attract no attention. But somehow, on the first day she truly realized it, she felt like something had slipped out of her control without her doing anything at all. Upstairs, in the silent office, Luca turned the empty coffee cup between his fingers, staring into what was no longer there. "Emily," he murmured, almost without noticing. Ryan knocked once and walked in without waiting for permission. "We got confirmation for tonight's meeting." Luca looked up. "Good." Ryan hesitated, then added, "You know, if she makes the coffee again tomorrow, I won't complain." Luca gripped the cup tighter. "You won't need to." Ryan frowned. "Why not?" "Because I'll ask her to bring it to me," Luca said, as if it were a minor detail. But it wasn't. Not for him. Not anymore. And for the first time, Ryan understood that the simple smile exchanged that morning had changed something that wouldn't go back to the way it was. If the Mafia boss had always ignored the maid before that day, that was over. He just didn't know how much it would cost his heart. And he had no idea that Ryan wouldn't be the only one trying to win her. Emily woke up earlier than usual the next morning. She wasn't sure why. Maybe it was the unfamiliar bed. Maybe it was the city noise that slipped in through the thin window. Or maybe, though she didn't want to admit it, it was the memory of Luca Conti saying her name. She dressed quickly in the black dress and white apron, tied her hair neatly, and headed to the kitchen before most staff arrived. She preferred calm mornings, quiet rooms, a chance to breathe. But that morning, her thoughts were anything but calm. She had replayed yesterday over and over. The intense look in Luca's eyes when he spoke to her. The effortless kindness in Ryan's voice. The tension she couldn't understand between both men. It was ridiculous to think about it. She was the maid. They were who they were. Powerful. Untouchable. Living in a world she had no business entering. And yet the memory stayed. When she stepped into the kitchen, Mrs. Hayes was already there, rearranging supplies with her usual precision. "Good morning," Emily said softly. Mrs. Hayes nodded without looking at her. "Morning. You're early." "I couldn't sleep." "That happens in this house," the older woman replied dryly. "Coffee's brewing. You can start with the silverware today. And when the coffee's done—" She paused. Emily waited. Then Mrs. Hayes turned, studying her closely. "You take a tray to Mr. Conti's office." Emily blinked. "Me?" "Yes, you." Her heart kicked against her ribs. "Did he ask for me specifically?" Mrs. Hayes raised an eyebrow. "I didn't stutter, dear." Emily nodded, trying to look composed. Inside, her thoughts scattered in 5 directions. Luca Conti had asked for her. Not for a maid, not for someone. For her. But why? "He likes things delivered fresh," Mrs. Hayes continued, unaware of Emily's inner chaos. "Don't take too long." Emily swallowed. "Yes, ma'am." As she polished the last fork, Mia slipped into the kitchen, hair still slightly messy from rushing. "There you are," Mia whispered. "I thought you vanished." "I'm bringing coffee to Mr. Conti," Emily murmured. Mia stopped mid-step. "You, again?" Emily nodded. "Oh, sweetheart," Mia said with dramatic sympathy. "You're doomed." Emily swatted her arm. "Stop. I'm serious. That man doesn't ask for anyone. If he said your name, that's already a Conti-level miracle." Emily tried to laugh, but her nerves got in the way. "It's just coffee." "Uh-huh," Mia hummed skeptically. "Sure." Once the pot finished brewing, Emily arranged the tray. Silver pot, matching cup and saucer, small bowl of sugar, linen napkin. Her hands shook the slightest bit, and she pressed her palms together to steady them. "Relax," Mia whispered, giving her a quick squeeze on the shoulder. "It's just coffee, and a ridiculously handsome man watching you like he wants to read your thoughts." "Mia? What? I'm not wrong." Emily rolled her eyes and carried the tray out before Mia could tease her more. The walk to Luca's office felt longer than yesterday. The hallways, usually busy, were quiet at this early hour. Each step echoed softly on the polished floors. She passed tall windows letting in pale morning light, art pieces aligned perfectly on the walls, a house too beautiful to feel real. She paused at Luca's office door, took a slow breath, and knocked. "Come in." His voice called, low, controlled, unmistakably him. Emily opened the door. Luca was already seated, dressed in a dark charcoal suit, black shirt underneath, sleeves rolled up enough to expose the tattoo on his forearm. His hair was darker in the morning light, slightly messy in a way that didn't match his disciplined personality. Papers were spread across the desk, but his eyes lifted the moment she stepped in. He didn't hide that he was looking at her. "Good morning, sir," she said, her voice soft but steady. "Morning," he replied, his gaze lingering 1 second longer than necessary. "That's for me?" "Yes, sir." She stepped closer and placed the tray gently on the desk. The moment she set it down, she felt his eyes on her again. Not intrusive, just observant, intensely observant. He reached for the cup and took a slow sip, still watching her. "Good," he said. "This is good." Emily nodded politely. "I'm glad you like it." But inside, her heart thumped. He wasn't someone she had expected to impress. He wasn't someone she had expected to notice anything she did. "Do you always come this early?" he asked suddenly. Emily blinked, caught off guard. Sometimes. It's quiet in the morning." His jaw flexed slightly, though she didn't know why. "That makes two of us." She didn't know how to reply to that, so she didn't. Luca glanced at his watch, then back at her. "You can go." She nodded. "Of course. Excuse me." As she turned toward the door, "Emily." She froze. Slowly, she turned back to him. His voice was calmer now, almost softer. "Thank you." A simple phrase, but coming from him, it meant something. Her breath caught. "You're welcome, sir." She stepped out of the room, closing the door behind her as quietly as she could. And Luca watched the door for a long moment, his coffee forgotten in his hand. Ryan found Emily 5 minutes later. She was trying to return the tray to the kitchen, walking down the hallway, replaying every second of her conversation with Luca. "There she is," Ryan said, falling into step beside her. "How'd it go?" "It was fine," Emily answered quickly. Too quickly. Ryan grinned. "If that's your terrified voice, I get it. He can be intense." Emily didn't want to admit he was right. She didn't want to admit that Luca's attention had made her entire body react. "He asked for me to bring the coffee," she said before she could stop herself. Ryan slowed his steps. "He did?" "Yes." "Well, that's new." Emily frowned. "New how?" Ryan shoved his hands into his pockets. "He doesn't usually choose who brings things to him. He doesn't care enough to notice, but you—" He shrugged lightly. He noticed. Emily felt her stomach flip. "It doesn't mean anything." Ryan looked at her with a half smile. "You keep telling yourself that." Before she could respond, Mrs. Hayes appeared at the end of the hallway with her clipboard. "Carter, Blake, stop lingering, move." Emily hurried off. Ryan winked and followed a different direction. But the thought stayed with her. He noticed. Upstairs, Luca tried to return to work. He failed. He typed 3 sentences, deleted them, stared at the document, thought about Emily. He never did this. He never allowed his mind to wander, especially not about someone who worked for him. He stood and walked to the window, watching the courtyard below. He tried to rationalize it. She was new, unfamiliar, an unknown variable in a house where he controlled everything. That was all. But the truth was simpler and far more dangerous. He felt something when he looked at her, something he didn't want to feel, something he hadn't expected. something he couldn't ignore. He had always been good at suppressing emotions, at burying anything unnecessary, at keeping a tight grip on every part of his life. But Emily Carter, she slipped past his defenses without even trying. Luca exhaled through his nose, annoyed at himself, annoyed at her smile, annoyed at Ryan's grin every time he talked to her, annoyed at the simple fact that Emily existed in his house and somehow managed to shake the ground under his feet. He didn't like unexpected things. He didn't like losing control, and whatever this was, this feeling, it was out of his control. He sat again, jaw tight, forcing himself to focus. But all he could see in his memory was the way Emily looked up at him and whispered, "Thank you." By lunchtime, the mansion was busy again. Staff moved quickly between rooms, carrying laundry, polishing mirrors, dusting shelves. Emily kept her head down and worked quietly, avoiding attracting attention. But attention found her anyway. When she walked through the hallway carrying a stack of folded towels, Ryan appeared from the corner. "Emily, come here." She hesitated. "I have work to do. This will take 10 seconds. She approached reluctantly. Ryan lowered his voice. "Just so you know, he's been in a mood." "Because of me?" Ryan smirked. "Because of something, and I'm willing to bet you're part of it." Emily shook her head. "That's ridiculous." "No," Ryan said, leaning in just a little. "Ridiculous is the way he watched us talking yesterday. I thought he was going to turn me into ashes on the spot." Emily suddenly felt warm. "You're exaggerating." "Oh, sweetheart, I wish I were." Before she could reply, Luca turned the corner at the end of the hallway. He stopped when he saw them. Ryan was standing far too close. Emily was holding the towels awkwardly, caught in the middle. Her eyes met Luca's, and Luca's expression darkened, just a little, barely noticeable, but real. Ryan straightened. "Boss?" Luca's eyes flicked once to Ryan, then settled on Emily. "Mrs. Hayes is looking for you," he said to her, voice clipped. Emily nodded immediately. "I'll go now." She rushed past both men, heart pounding. Ryan watched Luca with a knowing, amused look. Luca ignored him completely, but the tension between them didn't disappear. It only grew thicker. That night, in her small room, Emily lay awake staring at the ceiling. 2 men in the house had noticed her now. One with kindness, one with intensity she didn't understand. She hadn't asked for attention. She didn't even want it. But she couldn't pretend she didn't feel something when Luca looked at her. Something she couldn't name. Something that made her chest tighten and her breath catch. She closed her eyes. This job was supposed to be simple. No complications, no risks, no entanglements. But nothing about Luca Conti felt simple. And as much as she tried to deny it, she knew this was only the beginning. Emily's second week in the Conti mansion began quietly on the surface. But beneath the polished floors and silent hallways, something had shifted. Everyone could feel it, especially her, especially the 2 men who kept noticing her more than they should. Early Monday morning, Emily stepped into the main dining room with a basket of fresh linens. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, casting delicate patterns along the long wooden table. She began setting placemats and smoothing the fabric, trying to steady her thoughts. Her routine should have felt normal by now, predictable, safe. But nothing about her days felt simple anymore, not with Luca Conti watching her more closely than he ever watched anything that wasn't business, and not with Ryan Blake making her smile without even trying. She was halfway through folding napkins when she heard a low, smooth voice behind her. "Morning, Emily." Ryan. She turned, and he was standing in the doorway, sleeves rolled up, tie missing, a half grin tugging at his mouth. He walked closer, hands tucked in his pockets like he had all the time in the world. "You're here early again," he said. "Trying to beat the chaos?" She shrugged lightly. "I like getting a head start." He studied her for a moment. Her posture, her eyes, the tray she held. "You look tired," he said softly. Emily blinked. "Do I?" "A little." He tilted his head. "Didn't sleep well?" She hesitated. Lying felt pointless. "No," she admitted quietly. "There was a lot on my mind." Ryan chuckled. "Welcome to the Conti house. Emily almost smiled, but movement in the corner of her eye made her freeze. Luca. He stepped into the dining room, jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows, dark hair slightly tousled. He walked with quiet confidence, dangerous calm, wrapped in tailored clothing. He didn't say a word, but the shift in the air was immediate. Emily straightened. Ryan cleared his throat. "Boss?" Luca's eyes flicked to Ryan, then to Emily, lingering longer than necessary. "What are you doing here?" Luca asked Ryan coolly. Ryan didn't flinch. "Talking. Don't you have work to do?" Ryan grinned. "I do, but this seemed more interesting." Emily's breath hitched. Luca's jaw tightened, just enough to betray something he didn't want anyone to see. "Go," Luca said, voice low. "Right away, boss." Ryan winked at Emily before leaving. Emily swallowed, her pulse quickening as the room grew painfully quiet again. She didn't turn around. She could feel Luca's stare like heat on her back. "Emily." His voice always sounded like that, smooth, deep, impossible to ignore. She faced him slowly. "Yes, sir." "Did he bother you?" "No," she said quickly. "He was just talking." Luca stepped closer. Not too close, but close enough for her breath to catch. "If he makes you uncomfortable, you tell me." "I'm not uncomfortable," she whispered. His eyes searched hers, trying to read something she wasn't even sure she understood. For the first time, Luca said her name like it meant something. "Emily?" The word lingered between them. She held the edge of the table to keep her balance. Then, someone walked by the door, and the moment broke. Luca stepped back, his expression shuddering again. "You can continue your work." "Yes, sir." But as he walked away, she saw it clearly. He wasn't unaffected, not even close. Later that afternoon, Emily was cleaning the library when she heard footsteps behind her, slow, measured, heavier than Ryan's, lighter than the guards. Luca. She didn't even need to turn to know. "You missed a spot," he said quietly. She spun around, heat rushing to her cheeks. "Where?" He lifted a hand and pointed to a place on the shelf, his fingers far too close to hers. Emily hurried to wipe it. "That better?" she asked, stepping back. Luca didn't look at the shelf. He looked at her. "Yes," he said. "It's better." Her chest tightened. She hated how effect he had on her. "You seem distracted today," he said. Emily swallowed. "I'm fine." "You're lying." She froze. He folded his arms, watching her with unsettling intensity, trying to understand her. "Is it him?" Luca asked. "Him?" she echoed. "Ryan." Her heart fluttered. No. You don't have to protect him." "I'm not protecting anyone," she whispered. Luca took one step closer, not enough to intimidate, just enough to feel him. "So he didn't do anything inappropriate?" "No," she said, voice low. "He didn't." Luca's jaw tightened again. "Good." Emily looked away. "Why does it matter?" For a moment, he didn't answer. Didn't breathe. Didn't move. Then his voice came, low, controlled, but tinged with something raw. "Because I don't want him near you." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "What?" she whispered. "You heard me." She stared at him, stunned. Why would he say that? Why her? Why now? But before she could gather her thoughts, footsteps sounded from the hall. Ryan. He leaned casually on the doorframe. Interrupting something, Luca turned toward him with a glare sharp enough to cut steel. "Why are you here?" Ryan shrugged. "Looking for a file." "Find it and leave." Ryan raised his eyebrows at Luca's tone, but then his eyes landed on Emily. "You okay?" he asked her gently. Emily nodded, still off balance. "Yes." Ryan looked at Luca again, smirk forming. "Relax, boss. I'm not stealing your maid." The room froze. Emily felt her face flush. "Ryan." "It was a joke," he said, hands raised in surrender. Luca didn't move, but the air around him shifted. He was seconds from snapping. Emily rushed to step between them, figuratively, not physically. "I need to finish this room," she said quickly. "Please." Luca turned to her, the storm in his eyes softening slightly. Fine. He left the room first. Ryan followed with a grin that said he enjoyed every second of provoking Luca. Emily leaned against the shelf, heart pounding out of her chest. Two men, completely different, both noticing her more than she ever expected, and if she was honest, she was drawn to one of them far more than she wanted to admit. That evening, while arranging fresh flowers in the foyer, Emily saw Luca speaking with a few of his men. His posture was commanding, his voice calm but authoritative. He owned every room he stepped into. But then he noticed her, and something subtle shifted in his expression. Just slightly. Just enough that she felt it. Ryan appeared on the stairs, saw the same thing, and smirked. He walked straight toward Emily. "You know," he whispered playfully, "you make him crazy." Emily nearly dropped the flower vase. "Ryan." "It's the truth." "No, it's not. He's just strict." Ryan laughed. "Strict? Sure. Try territorial." Emily's cheeks burned. "Stop." But Ryan shook his head. "I'll stop when he stops staring at you like you're the only person in the room." Her breath faltered. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You do," Ryan said, softer now. "You just don't want to admit it." Emily's pulse quickened. Before she could defend herself, the house went silent for a moment. The kind of silence that meant someone important had walked in. "Luca." He stopped at the base of the stairs, eyes fixed on one thing, Emily and Ryan, standing too close, talking too softly. Luca's expression darkened, not with anger, but with something sharper, possessiveness. Ryan leaned in a little, intentionally provoking. "Watch this," he whispered. Emily's eyes widened. "Ryan, no." He took one step closer to her, and Luca moved so fast the air seemed to tighten. "Ryan," Luca warned, voice low and lethal, not violent but jealous, undeniably jealous. Ryan's smile widened. "Easy, boss. I'm just talking." Luca looked at Emily, not Ryan. "Emily," he said quietly, "come here." She froze. Her breath caught. Her heart raced. Ryan blinked in surprise. Luca never did that. Never summoned staff with that tone. Never directed that kind of attention to anyone in front of others. Emily stepped toward Luca slowly, unsure, confused, overwhelmed. When she reached him, he murmured just loud enough for her to hear, "Stay away from him." Her heart pounded so loudly she thought Ryan might hear. "Why?" she whispered. Luca met her gaze, dark, intense, vulnerable in a way she had never seen. "Because I don't like the way he looks at you." Emily felt her knees weaken. She opened her mouth, unsure what she was going to say. But Luca stepped back, regaining his cold composure. "Go finish your work," he said quietly. "Please. Please." The word echoed in her chest. Emily nodded and walked away, her hands trembling. Behind her, Ryan crossed his arms, watching Luca with an unreadable expression. "Well," Ryan said under his breath, half amused, half frustrated, "this is going to be interesting." Emily barely slept that night. She kept replaying everything. Ryan's teasing, Luca's intensity, the words he had said to her. "I don't want him near you." She pressed her hands to her warm cheeks, lying awake in the dark, feeling emotions she wasn't ready to face. She had come for a quiet life. But now, her heart was caught in something far bigger than she understood. Two men wanted her attention, but one man's gaze made her entire world stop, and Emily had no idea how to protect her heart from him. By the end of the week, Emily had convinced herself she could handle it. She could handle Luca's intense stares. She could handle Ryan's playful smiles. She could handle the strange tension that grew every time they were in the same room as her. She told herself she just had to stay professional, do her job, keep some distance. But that illusion ended on a Thursday night. It started like any other long day. The mansion was quieter than usual. Some of Luca's men were out. The meetings that filled the afternoons had ended. The sound of distant traffic floated in through closed windows. Emily was in the kitchen, helping put away the last of the dinner dishes. Most of the staff had already gone to their quarters. Only a few remained, finishing late tasks. Mia yawned as she wiped a counter. I'm going to bed before I fall on the floor. Emily smiled. You're dramatic. I'm realistic, Mia replied. You have bathroom duty on the second floor tonight, right? Yeah, Mrs. Hayes added it last minute. Fun. Mia winced. Good luck. If I don't see you tomorrow, I'll assume you passed out next to a mop. Emily laughed and nudged her. Go sleep. Mia waved and disappeared through the staff door. The kitchen fell quiet. Emily took a breath, grabbed the cleaning cart, and pushed it toward the elevator that led to the second floor. The house felt different at night. Still elegant, still structured, but softer somehow. She reached the second floor and began the routine. Guest bathroom, hallway bathroom, the one near the sitting room. Her body moved automatically. Her mind didn't. She kept thinking of one thing. Luca's voice. Stay away from him. I don't like the way he looks at you. He had no right to say that. He had no right to control who spoke to her. But the sound of his jealousy had stuck with her anyway. She was finishing the last bathroom when she heard it. A sharp sound in the hallway. Not loud, but clear. A muffled curse followed. Emily paused, hands still resting on the sink. That voice was familiar. She stepped into the hallway and looked around. Down the corridor, near Luca's office, she saw him. He was standing at the end of the hall, one hand on the wall, the other at his side, shoulders tight. His shirt sleeves were rolled up, his tie gone. There was something different about the way he was breathing. Mr. Conti, Emily called softly. His head turned sharply. Their eyes met. For a moment, she thought he would tell her to go away. Instead, he stayed where he was. Emily pushed the cart aside and walked toward him. As she got closer, she noticed something she hadn't seen at first. His right hand was bleeding. Not a lot, but enough. A thin line of red ran along his knuckles, dripping toward his wrist. Emily's breath caught. You're hurt. It's nothing, he said, voice tight. What happened? She asked. He exhaled slowly. A glass. It slipped. I grabbed it before it hit the floor. She looked past him at the nearby side table. A broken glass lay there, shards in a small pile, a dark mark where liquid had been spilled and wiped too quickly. Emily swallowed. You should clean that. I did. You didn't, she said gently, nodding toward his hand. He glanced down, as if noticing the blood for the first time. It doesn't matter, he said. It does, she replied quietly. Come with me. He stared at her. No one ordered him around. No one told him what to do in his own house. But she wasn't really ordering him. She was worried about him. And that was something he wasn't used to. For what? He asked. I'll clean it for you, she said. In the kitchen. It might need a bandage. He looked at his hand again. At her. At the nearly empty hallway. He could have refused. He almost did. But something inside him softened. Fine, he muttered. Emily turned and started toward the elevator. He followed her, silent, his steps steady behind hers. They reached the kitchen a minute later. It was completely empty. The lights were dimmer at night, giving the room a softer, almost private feel. Sit, she said gently, pointing to one of the stools near the counter. He raised an eyebrow. She flushed. Please. He hesitated, then sat. Emily moved quickly, grateful for the distraction of action. She grabbed a small first aid kit from the drawer she had seen Mrs. Hayes use before, then filled a bowl with warm water. Give me your hand, she said. He held it out. She took it carefully, holding his wrist in one hand while she dabbed gently at his knuckles with a clean cloth soaked in warm water. He hissed under his breath when she touched a deeper cut. Sorry, she whispered. I'll be careful. His gaze didn't leave her face. She focused on the cuts. They weren't deep enough for stitches, but they were sharp, angry lines. She wiped away the blood slowly, her fingers brushing his skin. Why didn't you tell someone? She asked. It's not important. It's your hand, she said. You use it for everything. It's important. His lips twitched, almost like he was fighting a smile. You're arguing with me over a scratch? Yes, she said, then realized how that sounded. I mean, no, I just don't think you should ignore it. You're very stubborn, he said. Sometimes, she admitted. When it matters. He studied her. You think I matter? He asked quietly. The question caught her completely off guard. Her fingers paused on his skin. She swallowed. You're my boss. That's not what I asked. Her heart sped up. The kitchen felt warmer. I think, she started slowly, carefully. I think everyone deserves someone to care if they're hurt. Even me? He asked. She looked up at him finally. His eyes were darker in the soft light, tracing every small movement of her face. Yes, she said. Even you. His chest rose a little harder. No one spoke to him like this. No one held his hand like this. No one worried about him for something as small as a cut. He watched as she gently dried his skin, then reached for a small bottle of antiseptic. This might sting, she warned. Go ahead, he said. She applied it lightly, trying to be quick. He tensed, but didn't pull away. Her fingers were small against his, but they were steady, careful, warm. When she finished, she reached for a bandage. You don't have to do all this, he murmured. I know, she said. I want to. That admission hung in the air. Her hands moved with quiet precision, wrapping the bandage around his knuckles. When she was done, she smoothed the edge and let go of his hand. Except she didn't really let go. Her fingertips lingered for one extra second. She pulled back quickly, realizing it too late. Thank you, he said. She nodded, suddenly unable to meet his eyes. You're welcome. For a moment, neither of them moved. The kitchen was silent. Just the two of them. No guards, no staff. No Ryan. Emily, he said softly. She looked up. Something unspoken passed between them, a current of awareness, of attraction, of confusion. It made her chest feel tight and light at the same time. You shouldn't be the one doing this, he murmured. Why not? She asked. Because, he exhaled. Because I'm not used to needing anyone. You don't, she said. You didn't need me. I just helped. He let out a low breath that almost sounded like a laugh. You really believe that? She frowned. Believe what? That I don't need you, he said. Her heart stumbled. He didn't mean it the way it sounded. He couldn't. He wouldn't. But the words still hit something deep inside her. Before she could respond, the door at the far end of the kitchen swung open. Ryan walked in. He stopped dead. His eyes took in the scene in one quick sweep. Luca on the stool, Emily standing close to him, first aid kit open, her hand still hovering near Luca's. Well, Ryan said slowly, this looks cozy. Emily stepped back immediately. I was just helping, Luca finished for her, his voice calm but firm. I cut my hand. She cleaned it. Ryan's gaze dropped to the bandage, then back to Luca's face. Something flashed in his eyes, amusement, frustration, something sharp she couldn't name. Didn't know you were accepting personal nurses now, Ryan said. Should I be jealous? Emily felt her stomach twist. Luca's expression didn't change. No. Ryan glanced at Emily. You okay? Yes, she said. His gaze lingered on her for a moment longer. Then he looked at Luca again. Careful, boss, Ryan said softly. If you let her take care of you too much, you might get used to it. Luca held his stare. Maybe I already am. The room fell silent. Emily's cheeks burned. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure they both could hear it. Ryan raised his eyebrows slightly. Interesting. He broke eye contact first, walking to the fridge and pulling out a bottle of water. I'll leave you two to your medical session, he said lightly. Wouldn't want to interrupt progress. Ryan, Luca warned, but Ryan just smirked. Good night. He walked out, leaving behind a silence that felt even heavier than before. Emily turned back to Luca, speechless. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I didn't mean to cause any trouble. You didn't, he said. But he He'll get over it, Luca cut in. This isn't about him. His gaze dropped briefly to her hands, then lifted again to her eyes. It's about you, he said. Her breath stopped. I don't... She swallowed. I don't understand. You don't have to, he replied. Not yet. Yet. The word sent a small shiver through her. Luca stood, the kitchen light glinting off his hair, his shoulders broad, his presence overwhelming. But there was a softness in his features now that she hadn't seen before. A quiet something that made it hard to look away. You should get some rest, he said gently. You've done enough for today. I still have... Emily, he interrupted. That's an order. It should have sounded harsh. It didn't. It sounded like he was trying to protect her. She nodded. Good night, sir. He held her gaze for one last long moment. Good night, Emily. She left the kitchen with unsteady steps, her heart beating too fast, her mind spinning. Behind her, Luca remained where he was, staring at his bandaged hand like it was some kind of unfamiliar symbol. She had touched him, taken care of him, seen him in a moment of imperfection, and for the first time in a long time. He didn't hate how that felt. In his room later, Ryan lay on the edge of his bed, staring at the ceiling. He replayed the scene in the kitchen in his mind. Emily and Luca standing too close, the bandage on Luca's hand, the look in his boss's eyes. It wasn't just curiosity. It wasn't just interest. Luca was falling hard. Ryan rubbed a hand over his face and let out a breath. He liked Emily. He admired her kindness. He enjoyed the way she laughed at his jokes and the way she listened when he talked. But what he had seen tonight between her and Luca, that was something else. Something deeper. Something he wasn't sure he could get in the middle of. He sighed. This is going to hurt, he muttered to himself. For someone. He just didn't know who yet. Emily barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt Luca's hand in hers, the roughness of his skin, the warmth of his fingers as she wrapped the bandage. She heard his voice. Maybe I already am. It's about you. No one had ever said things like that to her, especially not a man like him. Part of her knew this was dangerous. He was her boss. He was powerful. He lived in a world of secrets and risk. But another part of her, a part she couldn't silence, was drawn to him, drawn to his control, his protectiveness, his rare quiet moments of vulnerability. She pressed a hand over her racing heart and stared at the ceiling in the dark. Tonight had changed something. Luca Conti was no longer just the Mafia boss who ignored the maid. He was the man whose pulse she had felt under her fingers, the man whose jealousy she had heard in his voice, the man whose walls were starting to crack. For her. And Emily didn't know if she should run from that or fall with him. Emily expected things to go back to normal the next morning. She hoped they would, but they didn't, not even close. The entire mansion felt different when she woke up, charged like the air before a storm. And she felt different too, because every small thing reminded her of last night. The warm kitchen light, the smell of coffee, the sensation of Luca's hand in hers, the look in his eyes. She tried to shake it off as she walked through the hallway with her morning tasks. But her heart refused to settle. When she entered the living room to open the curtains, she saw him. Luca stood near the windows, already dressed in a dark suit, staring at something outside. He turned the moment he sensed her. Her breath caught. Good morning, she said softly. Morning, he replied, too gently, too carefully. She approached the curtains, and even though she wasn't close to him, she felt him. His presence always filled a room, controlled, heavy. But now there was something else beneath the surface, something newly awake. I didn't expect you up this early, she said before she could stop herself. His lips lifted at one corner. I didn't sleep much. Emily froze for a moment. Because of last night? Because of her? She didn't dare ask. Luca stepped closer. Not enough to touch her, but enough for her pulse to jump. Did you sleep? He asked. She hesitated. Not really. His jaw tightened slightly. Because of something, Or someone. Her heart skipped. No, I mean, I was just thinking. About the day. That was technically true, but he looked at her like he knew better. I see, he murmured. He didn't push, he didn't interrogate. He simply let the silence settle around them, a silence that felt too charged to be casual. Emily took a slow breath and reached for the curtains, but her hand shook slightly. She prayed he didn't notice. Of course he noticed. Emily, he said quietly, you don't have to avoid looking at me. She froze. I'm not, she whispered. You are. Her heart thudded painfully. I'm just tired. He stepped one fraction closer. And I'm supposed to believe that's the reason you can't look at me. Her eyes lifted slowly, hesitant, unsure, and met his. Luca held her gaze like it was the only thing that made sense that morning. It's not exhaustion, he said softly. She swallowed. Then what is it? You tell me. A spark pulsed through her chest. She didn't answer. She couldn't, because she still didn't understand what was happening between them, and she was terrified to say anything that could shatter the fragile tension hanging in the air. Before either of them could speak again, footsteps echoed down the hallway. Ryan. Of course. He walked into the room, bright-eyed, holding a folder under his arm. Good morning, he called cheerfully. Emily stepped back instantly. Too fast. Ryan noticed. So did Luca. Ryan's gaze moved between them. Slow, sharp, curious. Well, Ryan said lightly. I'm interrupting something, aren't I? No, Emily blurted. Yes, Luca said at the same time. Their answers collided in the air. Ryan raised a brow, fighting a grin. Interesting. Emily's face burned. I should get back to work. She hurried toward the door, but just before leaving, she heard Luca say quietly, I'll talk to you later. Her heart stumbled, but she kept walking. Ryan watched her go, then turned back to Luca with an amused expression. Want to talk about it? He asked. No, Luca replied. Ryan smirked. Too bad. I do. Emily escaped to the kitchen, trying to calm her breathing. She busied herself washing fruit, arranging things on shelves, anything to keep her hands moving. Mia walked in a minute later. You look like you ran a marathon, Mia said, grabbing an apple. What happened? Nothing. Mia froze mid-bite. Oh, God. Something happened. Emily shook her head quickly. No, it's just... They both saw me at the same time. It was awkward. Mia narrowed her eyes. Awkward how? Emily hesitated. Mia didn't. Fine, I'll guess. Ryan smiled at you again, didn't he? Yes, but... And Luca glared at him like a jealous dragon. Mia. What? I'm right. Emily covered her face with her hands. It's getting complicated. Mia snorted. Sweetheart, it was complicated the second those two realized you exist. Emily sighed. She had no idea how right Mia was. Later that morning, Emily was dusting the shelves in one of the sitting rooms when she heard quiet footsteps enter. She didn't turn. She knew who it was. Luca. Emily, he said calmly. She finished the shelf she was working on before facing him. Yes, sir? You left quickly this morning. She nodded politely. I didn't want to interrupt your work. His eyes softened. You weren't interrupting. She swallowed. I didn't want to make Ryan uncomfortable either. Luca's expression darkened immediately. You didn't. He looked like... He always looks like that, Luca cut in. Ignore him. I can't ignore him. He talks to me. I'll tell him to stop. What? Emily blurted. No, you can't do that. Luca stepped closer, lowering his voice. I can do anything, Emily, and I don't like the way he talks to you. Her breath caught. He's not doing anything wrong. He's doing enough. She swallowed hard. Why do you care? The question slipped out before she could take it back. Luca froze, his jaw tensed. His breath hitched just slightly, and the mask he always wore weakened, only for her. I care, he said, voice low, because I don't want anyone else getting close to you. Her heart pounded so fast she almost felt dizzy. "That's not fair," she whispered. "I know. You're my boss. I know that too." "Then what are we doing?" she asked softly. His throat worked as he swallowed. What they were doing was crossing lines, lines he never crossed, lines she had never imagined crossing. He stepped even closer, close enough for her to feel the heat of him. "We are," he murmured, trying not to lose control. Emily's breath trembled. "Control of what?" "Of myself," he said honestly. "Because when it comes to you, I don't have much left." Her chest tightened painfully. She was about to say something, anything, when the door opened suddenly. "Ryan, again?" He froze when he saw how close Luca was standing to Emily. "Oh," Ryan said slowly. "Should I knock, or leave, or call for backup?" Luca shot him a deadly look. Emily stepped back instantly, putting distance between them. "I'm sorry," she whispered, unable to look at either of them. "I should go." She rushed past them and out the door. Ryan watched her leave, then looked at Luca. "You're falling for her," Ryan said quietly. Luca didn't answer. Ryan sighed. "And I guess I need to figure out what I'm going to do about that." Emily found herself in the garden behind the mansion, needing fresh air. Her emotions were all tangled together: fear, confusion, excitement, longing. She didn't want to be caught in the middle of anything between those two men. But she was, and she couldn't deny that her heart leaned toward one direction, a direction she should not even think about. She sat on a stone bench, hands trembling slightly. She didn't notice someone approaching until a soft voice spoke. "You okay?" She looked up. Ryan. He sat beside her, not too close, but enough to feel his warmth. "I didn't mean to interrupt earlier," he said gently. "I'm sorry." She shook her head. "It's not your fault." He looked at her for a long moment. "You know," he said quietly, "I care about you too." Her breath caught. "Ryan, I'm not saying this to pressure you," he added quickly. "I'm saying it because it's true. You're different. Good. And I like being around you." Her heart ached. "But," he continued, voice softer, "he's not someone who lets go easily. And for the first time in years, Luca wants something. Someone." Emily looked down. "I don't want to hurt you." Ryan let out a breathy laugh. Not bitter, just honest. "You might," he said, "but I'll get over it." She blinked. "Ryan." "It's okay," he said gently. "Just be careful with him. He's not used to caring about anyone." She swallowed hard. "I know." Ryan stood, dusting off his hands. "And Emily?" "Yes? If he hurts you, even a little, I'll be the first one to take you away from this place." Her chest tightened. He gave her a soft, sad smile. Then he walked back toward the house, leaving her with a truth she wasn't ready for. One man would step aside for her happiness. The other wouldn't. Her heart already knew which one she wanted. But it also knew Luca Conti was the most dangerous man to want. Not because he would hurt her, but because he would never let her go. Emily's plan for the next morning was simple. Avoid Luca, avoid Ryan, avoid every hallway where either one of them might appear. She wasn't ready. Not for Luca's intensity, not for Ryan's honesty, not for the fact that her own heart was starting to betray every rule she'd set for herself. So she stuck to cleaning duties on the first floor, keeping her head down, hoping the universe would give her one peaceful day. It didn't. Just after noon, Mrs. Hayes approached her with a clipboard and a rare, tense look. "Emily, dear, Mr. Conti requested that you bring coffee to his office." Emily almost dropped the towel in her hand. "He requested me?" "Yes, you specifically." Her stomach twisted. This wasn't a task she could hand to someone else. Luca wanted her, and she didn't know what that meant today. "Of course," she managed. "I'll take it." Mrs. Hayes nodded with approval. "Don't keep him waiting." Emily exhaled slowly and prepared the tray. Coffee, cream, sugar, a linen napkin carefully folded. Her hands trembled again, and she hated how obvious she felt. She took the elevator to the second floor. With each step toward Luca's office, her heartbeat became louder and heavier, like the world was holding its breath with her. She knocked softly. "Come in." His voice said, low, calm, expectant. Emily pushed the door open. Luca was behind his desk, jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled up, hair a little messy like he'd run his fingers through it too many times. Papers were scattered everywhere, but he didn't look at them. The moment she entered, his eyes went straight to her, and stayed there. "Your coffee, sir," she said, barely above a whisper. "Bring it here," he murmured. She walked closer and set the tray down. Her fingers brushed the edge of his desk, steadying herself. Luca stood. Emily's breath caught. He came around the desk and stopped just a foot away, too close for her to think clearly. "Did you sleep at all last night?" he asked. "I tried." "You didn't answer my question." She swallowed. "No, not really." "Because of me?" he asked. Her eyes lifted quickly. "No, I mean, Emily." His voice deepened. "Don't lie to me." She took a shaking breath. "Yes," she whispered finally. "Because of you." Something in his expression cracked. Not the coldness, not the control, something beneath it. He stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough to make her heart stutter painfully. "Good," he said softly. Emily's eyes widened. "Good?" Luca nodded once. "Because I didn't sleep either." The confession hit her like a wave. "I kept thinking about last night," he continued. "About you, about your hands on mine, about how close you were." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. He took another slow step toward her. "And I told myself I shouldn't want that again," he said. "That I shouldn't want you near me." Her breath trembled. "And now?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Now I don't care what I should want." Emily felt the room tilt. Her heart wasn't just racing, it was begging. For what, she didn't know. Maybe for him to step back. Maybe for him to close the distance. She forced herself to speak. "Luca, I don't know what this is." "I do," he said. Her pulse skipped. "What?" "This is me," he said slowly. "Losing my mind over you." Emily almost stepped back, but her feet wouldn't move. "Why?" she whispered. "Because I can't ignore you anymore," he said, voice strained. "Because every time you walk into a room I feel it. Because I don't want anyone else near you. Because you make me lose control, and I've never allowed anyone that power." His words felt like a confession he'd fought too long to hold back. Emily's chest rose and fell quickly. "Luca, that's not fair," she said. "I don't know how to handle any of this." "You don't have to know," he murmured. "You just have to tell me the truth." "The truth?" she echoed. "Do I scare you?" he asked. "Or do I make you nervous for another reason?" Her breath caught. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. He saw it in her eyes. His jaw tightened, and he took one more step, the smallest one. But to her, it felt like the world shifted with him. "Emily," he said softly. "Look at me." She lifted her eyes slowly. Luca's were dark and unguarded. "Tell me to stop," he whispered, "and I'll stop." But she didn't. She couldn't. Her silence was louder than any answer. Luca exhaled, slow, shaky, almost disbelieving. He lifted his hand toward her cheek, but paused an inch away. He wasn't touching her, but he was right there. Her breath brushed his fingers. She felt heat all the way down her spine. "Why aren't you stepping away?" he asked quietly. "Why aren't you?" she whispered back. His eyes flashed with something deep. Want, conflict, restraint, hunger, fear. "I told myself to keep my distance," he said, "but you make that impossible." Emily swallowed hard. "What about Ryan?" Luca's jaw tensed. "What about him?" He cares about me too." Luca's expression hardened with a possessiveness she was almost scared to see. "He'll get over it," Luca said evenly. "I won't." Emily's heart stuttered. "Luca, no." he said softly, stepping even closer. Don't say his name right now. She gasped quietly. He dropped his voice to a near whisper. This moment, he said, is ours. Before she could respond, the door swung open. Emily jumped back so fast she nearly tripped. It was Mrs. Hayes. Oh, Mr. Conti, she said stiffly. I'm sorry to interrupt. I thought you were alone. Luca stepped back instantly, posture tightening, mask snapping back into place. You need something? He asked, voice cool again. Yes, Mrs. Hayes replied. There's an urgent call for you. He nodded once. I'll take it. Thank you. Mrs. Hayes left. Emily stood frozen. Luca looked at her, really looked, and she saw the struggle starting again behind his eyes. This conversation isn't finished, he said. Emily nodded weakly. I know. Go, he said softly, before I change my mind and finish it now. Her chest tightened. She left his office on trembling legs. The moment she stepped into the hallway, she pressed a hand to her heart. She had never been so close to losing control. She had never been so close to wanting someone she shouldn't want. She felt as though she had swallowed sunlight, warm and frightening at once. She didn't know where this was going. She didn't know how much danger her heart was in. But one thing was certain. Luca Conti wasn't done with her, and she wasn't done with him. Not anymore. For the first time since she started working at the Conti mansion, Emily realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. She was already in love with him. Not with his title. Not with his power. Not with the way everyone feared his name. With him. With the man who sat in his office late at night, pretending not to be tired. With the man who always noticed when her hands shook. With the man who bled and tried to hide it until she took care of him. With Luca. And now she had to face it. The house was unusually busy that evening. People moved faster. Phones rang more often. A few unfamiliar cars appeared in the driveway and left just as quickly. Emily stayed where she always stayed, on the edges in the background, doing her job and pretending she wasn't watching. At dinner, Luca didn't come down. His chair was empty. A plate was set out of habit, then removed when it became obvious he wouldn't appear. Ryan was there, though, quiet for once, his usual smile more controlled. Mia leaned toward Emily as they cleared plates. He's in one of his serious moods, she whispered. He always looks serious, Emily replied. Yeah, but this is extra, Mia said. I tried to say goodnight to him earlier, and he just nodded at me like a statue. Emily gave a small, nervous laugh, but her mind was already somewhere else. Upstairs, down the hall, in a certain office. She carried a tray back to the kitchen, her heart heavy and restless. She washed dishes. She wiped counters. She tried to fill her hands so her thoughts wouldn't have too much space. It didn't work. She kept hearing his voice. This moment is ours. I won't get over it. I don't want anyone else near you. She was so lost in her thoughts that she didn't hear Ryan enter the kitchen until he spoke. Hey. She jumped slightly. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. That's new, he said lightly. I'm hard to miss. Emily forced a small smile. Do you need anything? Yeah, he said. A minute. He wasn't smiling as much now. His expression was softer, more serious, and that scared her more than his teasing ever did. Can we talk? He asked. She hesitated, then nodded. Sure. They stepped out into the service hallway, where it was quieter. The low hum of the refrigerator and distant voices from the front of the house were the only sounds. Ryan leaned back against the wall, crossing his arms. You know, he began. I always thought I understood him. Him? She asked. Luca, Ryan said. I've seen him angry, calm, ruthless, patient. I've watched him make decisions that would break most people, but I never saw him like this. Emily swallowed. Like what? Ryan stared at her for a moment. Afraid. She blinked. He doesn't seem afraid. That's the problem, Ryan said. He doesn't show it. But he is. You scare him. Her heart squeezed. I don't want to scare him. That's not what I mean. Ryan let out a slow breath. You make him feel out of control. And he hates losing control more than anything. She looked down at her hands. I didn't ask for any of this. I know, Ryan said quietly. And neither did I. Her chest tightened. Ryan. He smiled. This time really smiled, but it was sad around the edges. I like you, Emily, he said. I think you know that. Maybe from the first day you walked in with that nervous smile and tried to pretend you weren't terrified. I was terrified, she whispered. I know. He chuckled softly. That's what made it fun. She exhaled, her throat tight. But I saw you tonight, Ryan continued. Not just tonight. Every day. The way you look when he walks into a room. The way your shoulders tense and relax at the same time. The way your eyes follow him even when you're trying very hard not to. She didn't argue. She couldn't. You're already his, Ryan said gently, even if no one has said it out loud yet. Tears stung the back of her eyes. I didn't mean for that to happen, she said. I know you didn't, he replied. That's why I'm not angry at you. Her voice cracked a little. And at him? There was a pause. Sometimes, Ryan admitted. Sometimes I'm angry at him. Because he got something without even trying that I knew I'd never have, even if I gave everything I am. Emily felt a tear slip free. I'm sorry. Don't be, he said. You don't owe me an apology for your heart. He straightened from the wall and faced her fully. Look, he said, more firmly now. Here's what I need you to understand. I would have tried for you. Really tried. I would have taken you out of this house, given you something normal, made you laugh every day. But I saw the way you looked at him in that office, the way your hands shook when you cleaned his cuts, and I'm not stupid. He forced another smile. I lost this one a long time ago. I just didn't want to admit it. Ryan, she whispered. You didn't lose. I never... He lifted a hand gently, stopping her. You don't have to make this easier for me, he said. I'll be okay. I've survived worse than a broken heart. But I don't want you to hate me, she said. I won't, he answered simply. I'm just going to step back. The words landed with a weight she hadn't expected. Step back, she repeated. Yeah, he said. We both know there's only one man you're really thinking about at night, and it's not me. A single tear slipped down her cheek. Ryan reached out and wiped it gently with his thumb. Hey, he said softly. No crying over me. I'm still the fun one, remember? She let out a shaky laugh. You are. He dropped his hand and exhaled. But I'm also not the one who keeps you awake until 3 a.m. just because he said your name once, he added. She closed her eyes for a second. He was right. He was kind, and he was letting her go without making her feel guilty for loving someone else. You're a good man, Ryan, she whispered. He shrugged. Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin my reputation. She smiled through the tears. He stepped back, shoving his hands into his pockets again. Go talk to him, he said quietly. Her heart hammered. What? You heard me, Ryan said. He won't say it first. He's too stubborn, too scared, too used to losing people. So if you want this to work, one of you has to jump, and we both know it's not going to be him. She swallowed. What if he regrets it afterward? Ryan looked at her for a long moment, his eyes steady. If he ever makes you feel small, or unsafe, or unloved, Ryan said slowly, you come to me, and I'll drag you out of here myself. I don't care who he is. Her chest ached. Why would you do that if... Because I care about you, he said. And because if he's going to be the one who wins your heart, I'm going to make damn sure he deserves it. More tears slipped free. Thank you, she whispered. He smiled. Go, Emily. She watched him turn and walk away, shoulders squared, head held high. He was hurting. She knew it. He knew it. But he was also doing something rare and beautiful. He was choosing her happiness over his own. And after that, she had no choice but to be brave too. The hallway to Luca's office felt longer than ever. Every step made her heart pound harder. Every breath was a battle between fear and desire. What was she doing? Walking toward a man who could break her? walking toward the one person who looked at her like she was both his weakness and his salvation? Yes, exactly that. She stopped at his door. Her hand hovered over the wood for a second. Then she knocked. "Come in," his voice called. She opened the door. He was alone. The room was dimmer now, lit by the warm glow of a lamp on the corner of his desk. His jacket was off, his tie loosened, his shirt sleeves rolled up. He looked tired and tense and impossibly handsome. When he saw her, something in his posture changed, tightening, then softening, like he was bracing himself and relaxing at the same time. "Emily," he said quietly. "It's late." "I know," she replied. "Did something happen?" he asked, already pushing his chair back slightly, ready to stand. "Yes," she said. "Something did happen." He stood fully now, his full attention on her. "Tell me." She took a deep breath. "Ryan spoke to me," she said. His expression darkened instantly. "What did he say?" "Nothing bad," she answered quickly. "Nothing that hurt me. He's stepping back." Luca's jaw tensed. "Stepping back from what?" "From this," she said. "From what?" He pushed. "From me," she whispered. Silence. Thick, heavy, absolute. "He told me," Emily continued, voice trembling but firm, "that I needed to come talk to you, that you wouldn't say at first, that you're too used to losing people to admit you want to keep someone." Luca's eyes flickered, just once. "He said that?" Luca asked, voice low. "Yes." "And you?" Luca asked. "Why are you here, Emily?" She swallowed. "Because I love you. Because I can't breathe when you're near me and I can't breathe when you're not. Because you scare me and calm me at the same time." She stepped closer. "I'm here," she said, "because I'm tired of pretending I don't feel it too." His breath hitched. "Feel what?" he asked. "You," she whispered. "All of this." She gestured weakly between them. "The way you look at me," she said. "The way my chest hurts when you're upset. The way I can't sleep if I know you're still awake in this office. The way I can't stand it when you're cold to me, because I know you." If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.